Hello, everyone. Welcome. Going to share something pretty special with you. I want you to tell me if this video was taken on a Antarctica cruise or an Antarctica expedition. You tell me. So, little penguins on an iceberg in Antarctica, swimming around, expedition or cruise? You tell me. What do you think? Well, today we're going to talk about Antarctica and cruising versus expedition. I've just come back from both. And as I was sitting there, I was thinking about this, going, you know, this would be an interesting conversation to have. And I am not going to judge one way or the other. I think you need to get to Antarctica, and how you choose to get there, totally up to you. So let me get started. So I just showed that video, and I'll show another one. So think about, do you think that was taken on a cruise or an expedition? So let's start here. And let me get rid of some of this stuff. Hold on one second. Just let me know where you're from in the comments. So make sure you add your comments. Let me know you're here. So there we go. All right. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. And so here's another picture. Picture on the left, your left, my left. Is that a cruise picture or is that an expedition picture? Do you think that was taken? They're both icebergs. I'm going to tell you they're both in Antarctica. And you tell me which one you think is the cruise left or the expedition right, or vice versa. So put that in the comments and think and tell me what you think. All right. So cruising to Antarctica is just like cruising anywhere else, except it's really, really cold. Obviously, you're on a large ship, and I'm going to talk about the restrictions on a cruise versus an expedition during the course of this, so stay tuned. Up to 2,000 passengers, so you're not going to see like these mega cruises that are now out, or anything larger than 2,000 passengers. They do go from the US down to Antarctica. They go from South America down to Antarctica. And it's anywhere from 18 to 34 days, or you can back them up like I did. So I left LA on December 1st, ended up in Buenos Aires on January 4th. So we celebrated Christmas and New Year's down there. But basically, it's LA to Santiago, San Antonio, and then San Antonio to Buenos Aires. So that's two 18-day back-to-backs is what they call it. And then I came back again from Buenos Aires back to San Antonio. So you can do that. And that was on Princess. I happen to be on Princess. NCL does it. I will tell you, in my humble opinion, Princess has the best Antarctica experience on a cruise ship. In that mid-range, you can absolutely do it more expensively than Princess, but it's also 4 days down in Antarctica, not 2 or 1. So watch those itineraries, and we'll talk about that later. So they are broader itineraries. As I said, South America, you can leave from San Antonio or Buenos Aires on the cruise ships to hit that Antarctica expedition. You'll also see South Shetland Islands, which is a little bit north. I'll get you some maps in a little bit. Falkland Islands, as well as other cities like Lima, Paracas, Punta Arenas, Chile, Punta Arenas, Costa Rica, yeah. And then Buenos Aires, Montevideo. So you'll see more than just Antarctica, because you're only 4 days in Antarctica cruising, and then the rest of it, you're cruising around South America. So it's a broader itinerary for 18 days. And it's also, just like an expedition, dependent on weather. Access and comfort to Antarctica, it depends on what you like. You can actually sit in a beautiful window, warm, without any heavy clothing on in a cruise, and watch the icebergs and everything go by. Or you can go outside on deck. And I'll show you pictures of what I was wearing on deck, and it was fine. And it is summer, so everything is relative, but it is summer down here in the Southern Hemisphere. So it is warm. I compared it to sort of a beautiful Chicago day, anywhere from 35 to 45, sometimes some winds, other times brilliant, bright sunshine. So it's doable without having to get a lot of gear. And there's a lot of cruise programming. You have really high level Broadway show entertainment, lots of lectures and education, lots of fun and trivia. So it's a broader kind of entertainment while you're cruising. And on the expedition, you're in the small ship. This was actually the ship that I was on. It's 134 passengers. They can be up to 400 passengers going down to Antarctica. And these ships are leaving from either Ushuaia or Punta Arenas, Chile. So that's the only way you get on an expedition. You can do one from New Zealand, but it's a long ride. They tend to be 10 to 21 days. And remember, 4 of those 10 or 21 days is, I'm sorry, 2 of those is crossing the Drake, going down and coming back up. And then you're down, spending about 8 days in Antarctica. It's a completely different experience. You are closer to the Antarctic Circle. You'll see sea, land, animals, ocean, icebergs very close and up front because you're getting into zodiacs into the water, as well as, because it's a smaller ship, going into inlets and fjords that the cruise ships are not allowed. And you're actually going farther south than the cruise ships are allowed as well. And then it's all dependent on weather, just like a cruise ship. But this, because of where we're going, it's even more dependent on the weather, and it's a smaller ship. And you get to do a polar plunge, which I did. So if you're interested in jumping into the Antarctic Ocean and water, this is the only way you're going to do it. And then you have zodiacs on the ocean. We do dry and wet landings. They give you boots that you use while you're there, and a parka to keep. Excuse me. Sorry. And a parka to keep. And it's education focused. So there is on our ship and all the ships, there's a little bar. It's called the Polar Bear Lounge, the Polar Bear Bar on this expedition. And it has live music and canned music, and they do a lot of karaoke up there, but it's not the programming you find on a cruise ship. So you're finding your own fun, playing cards with people and reading and listening to music, that sort of thing. And doing the education. There's a lot of education. So on the days down took us a day and a half down to Antarctica. I'm sorry. It's 2 days down and 2 days up from Antarctica. Sorry. I was just thinking that we're just going down once, but it takes you 2 days to get down to Antarctica and 2 days to get back up from the Drake. And so the 2 days that we were on our way down and up, it was fully packed with education, geology, animals, Antarctica climate, research, birds, specialists that knew all about this, and they were giving lectures all the time. So it's a little bit of a BYO entertainment, but you're really getting close to everything. Okay, cruiser expedition. That is the A23 iceberg, the biggest iceberg on Earth, currently breaking up, on the left, and Magellan penguins on the right. Are those cruise pictures or expedition pictures? We have wonderful, wonderful people on our ships, our fellow passengers and travelers, and it is very much a lucky to be at the right place at the right time. So everybody freely shares their pictures. We have a Facebook group from the cruise where we share pictures, and we have a WhatsApp group from the expedition where we're sharing pictures. So everybody just shares. So Dennis, shout out to you for sharing your pictures, because he had a camera. Some people came with serious camera equipment. I'll talk about that in a minute. And other of us, just like me, had an iPhone. So you do with what you got. So cruise or expedition? We'll go back at the end. So travel and getting there. This is not an easy undertaking depending on where you live. But to get down to Ushuaia, you have to come in through Buenos Aires and Aerolíneas. There's maybe one other, but Aerolíneas runs the most frequent flights from Buenos Aires down to Ushuaia and back. So you've got to get from wherever you are in the world to Buenos Aires, and sometimes that's not a direct flight from wherever you are to Buenos Aires. So I know people are doing, they're coming in from Antarctica, they're coming in from the North America, from Europe into Lima, and then over to Buenos Aires. So it's not a long flight from Ushuaia to it's not a long flight from Buenos Aires to Ushuaia. It's only about 3 hours, but you got to get there. And that's for the expedition only. If you're doing the cruise, you can get to Santiago as San Antonio port, spend a couple of days in Santiago and then go to the port, or Buenos Aires. So it's your choice, or you can start in LA, Los Angeles, and do it that way. Next year, Princess will actually be going from Miami, but they will not be doing Antarctica. So it's kind of a round trip down the west coast of South America, Falkland Islands, and then just goes back to Miami. So gives you a little taste of South America, but not Antarctica. And then you can do pre and post tours, of course. And there's lots of tours and things to do in Ushuaia and Buenos Aires and San Antonio and Valparaiso and Santiago. So you can plan accordingly. It's not a quick, oh, let me just fly down to Buenos Aires and get on a plane to Ushuaia. Because also when it's high season, there aren't as many planes. So there are a lot of planes, but they're booked. So you have to do this. You have to think a little bit farther in advance. And the Drake Passage, as I said, is either 36 to 48 hours, depending on how it's going. IATO, the International Association of Antarctic Tour Operators, is a self-regulating body of the tour operators who have subscribed to these regulations. And it's the number of people that can come on shore. So we only had 134 people on board, 124 people on board, actually. And we were only allowed to have 60 people on shore at a time. So we basically, they call it a split operation. We're 60 of us, and they gave us all names, groups, these groups and these groups, please report to the mudroom. And we would go off, do 45 minutes, an hour and a half on land. And then the second group would go on land. And when we were coming back, we would actually take a Zodiac scenic cruise around to look at icebergs, to see what was in the water. Sometimes we saw penguins very up close, or leopard seals, or whales. So as long as we weren't on land, we were on a Zodiac, that was fine. So the other 60 people could be on land. And they manage it very, very well in the expedition. Of course, in the cruise, you're not getting off at all. But waste disposal, no use of plastics on board or to be thrown out. We have a biohazard process on the expedition with our boots, that we walk through some pink solution to make sure we're not carrying anything on land. And when we come back, we walk through that solution, but we've also scrubbed our boots. And when we're finished, we put all of our boots and hang all of our stuff in a room, to the mudroom, to let it dry for the next expedition. And they would call us by number if we hadn't cleaned our boots well enough to go back on land. And we'd have to go back to the mudroom, scrub them again, and then they would clear us so that we could use them again to get back onto land. And so the timing, there was never our ship and another ship going on to the same island or the same space. So it's very much like the Galapagos, where everybody knows where everybody is and we're not overcrowding the land or the animals. And there's a reporting function on what you did, what you saw, and any violations that may have occurred by you or others. We actually pulled into a channel on the expedition, and there was a Viking expedition boat ship right in the middle of the channel, which was like, and they were offloading people. You don't do that. It's weird. Okay, so what you'll see: seals, not sea lions, seals, penguins, whales, all around you. Again, it's luck of the draw in terms of when you'll see them and how you'll see them. Icebergs. So on the expedition, these are huge icebergs. These are building size icebergs, multi-story, 10, 20 stories. And because of where we're going, and I'll get to the maps in a minute, these icebergs float and they end up in an iceberg graveyard. And we literally take Zodiacs out and you kind of float around between these icebergs. And it's absolutely magical and crazy and awe-inspiring. Lots of plant life, lichen and grasses and mosses all over. And you can see why an artist would be so inspired by it, because it fits itself into the layers of the ice, or it's on land. And so we're on land. That moss and that grass could be millions of years old. So they ask us to step around it so it doesn't have to continue to regenerate itself in a bad way. So we're very careful where we put our feet when we're on land. Collapsed volcanoes, which we did our polar plunge. Deception Island was a volcano and collapsed in itself, became a whaling station, and the expedition ship went into the area, the lake or the water that has been created now from this collapsed volcano. And the cruise ship, we sort of just went around it and looked at it because it was a volcanic rock. The whaling station in Deception Island is just amazing. All of the British Antarctic Survey has left. They've kind of cleaned it so it's not dangerous, but they've decided to leave all of the buildings and oil tanks and things like that. It's all cleaned up, so that we can look at it and walk on it and learn the history of what that whaling was. At one point in the late 1800s, the blue whales had been completely decimated by this practice for whale oil back in London, or back in the UK. And in the writings, they said, there are so many whales here, and especially the blue whale, which was the largest mammal on Earth at the time. They could walk over the whales to get out to sea because there were so many of them. And they just hauled them in and took them apart and sent blubber and oil back to the United Kingdom. Really sad. Blue whales have not come back. Humpbacks and others have, but blue whales have not. So history of the research station, there's lots of education. As I said, there's, experts on board, lectures, entertainment. I will tell you, this is probably not the place so much that you see sunrise and sunset, depending on the time of day or year. So I was there in early March on the expedition, and December and January on the cruise ship. And so a little bit earlier in December, January had clearer weather. In March, we only saw sunset once. We all ran out on deck because it was just overcast. It was transitional time, going from summer into fall here. Okay, cruise or expedition? Which one? One on the left is cruise, one on the right is expedition, or vice versa? Which one? I'm trying to prove to you that both of these options are great options to go down to Antarctica. We're going to talk about money and time in a minute. Okay, so from the cruise point of view, you have ports before and after you go to Antarctica. So if you also want to discover South America, it's a one-stop shop, right? Because you're going to see all these ports along the way, as well as 4 days in Antarctica scenic cruising. The icebergs are smaller as a function of where you are. They're still beautiful. This is from a cruise ship, so they're still plenty big. You'll see animals from afar. Again, some people had some amazing lenses, so they actually didn't seem that far away, but there's only so much you're going to see from your iPhone. And the birds are all over. Some of the whales were very close. Some of the penguins were like right below the boat as we were pulling, and as we were sailing, and they were going faster than we were. We weren't going very fast, but you could see them under the surface of the water, and then they porpoise while they swim. You'll see islands and land from the sea. They'll point out the research stations along the way. The weather's the same, no matter what kind of ship you choose, and they all have experts on board. So that's sort of the cruise end of it. On the expedition, you're in the water twice a day, so before lunch and after lunch. So you're really, this is a wet landing. We use our boots. We kind of climb out here, and these are our compatriots on there, and these little orange flags. They've been very careful, and they have sent out an expedition party about an hour before, tested the land, tested the ice, tested the landing, where the animals are, and decided whether we could go or not, or whether conditions were safe enough. And then if we were walking on land, they put out these orange flags so that we knew the route we have to take. And they're very clear: do not step off that route, both for your safety, for the animal safety, to preserve Antarctica. If you see a penguin walking towards you, or a seal, you get out of their way. We are in their way, they are not in our way. So it's always like the 6 to 10 feet distance. You'll see icebergs from the sea. You'll see icebergs from the boat, the ship, just like you would on a cruise ship. But the icebergs up close are kind of crazy. You'll be able to see through the ice in the expedition. So the expeditions are hardened or enforced steel hulls. So when you go through the brash ice, so this is sort of brash ice down here. So this ice that's floating on top, the expedition ship can go through that. The cruise ship cannot go through all of it because it's not an enforced hull. And it's amazing because we'll go through it, and you go through very slowly, and you hear this clang like a bell, boom, as the ice hits the hull of the expedition ship. So there were places on the cruise we had to turn around because the ice was either too close coming in, or the bergs were too close. And so we turned around and found another bay to go to. In this case, he knew where he was going to go. The visibility was fine, and we went, but we just went slowly, and you just saw the ice kind of part and hit the hull as we went through. And then we not only went on land, but there were one of the two could have been just a zodiac cruising, where we're going to find animals. We're going to look at icebergs. There's a area over here we just want to show you from the Zodiac. So you were either scenic cruising in a Zodiac, or on land at least once a day, and sometimes on land twice a day. And experts on board, just like on a cruise ship. So the preparation for the expedition, I think, is a little different. As I said, they give you boots and these red parkas that you see here. We keep those, so it's a gift, sort of. You sort of pay for it, but you don't. Waterproof pants are required. I actually rented mine in Ushuaia because I don't see anywhere that I'm going to need them again. Other people, when you get on the ship, you'll see everything: Columbia, North Face, Arc'teryx. You'll see all the high fashion of cold weather, whatever. I don't need that stuff, and I just was not interested in investing in it, and no one cares what you look like. So it all works, but you have to have waterproof gear. Warm clothing for at least 1 to 2 hours on sea and land. So if you're in this, we would be in these Zodiacs anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours. It could be, 10 to 20 minutes from the ship to the shore. And, you're going and it's windy and you're going to get a little wet, so you can get a little cold. So you want to make sure you've got layers and layers and layers on. And that's what they said. You can always take them off, but you can't put them back on. And if we have to take you back to the ship because you're cold on the expedition, there's no guarantee we'll be able to get you back onto land. So dress accordingly. I didn't have any problem with it at all. On deck, you're out there looking for whales, and every ship, whether it's a cruise ship or an expedition ship, you aren't going to see anything from your room, maybe, unless you have a balcony. But typically, if you go up on top where you can go to the left and the right and the front of the ship, the bow, or the aft of the ship, then you're going to be able to see anything that might come up. We had really good conditions on the expedition. It was calm and flat, so you could see the whale spouts from a long way away. And we also saw them on the cruise ship. So, you're outside. And if you're going to be outside, you're going to get cold. So, and actually in the expedition ship, you can look out windows, but it's not the same as on a cruise ship. And then there are insurance requirements. It's a minimum of $250,000 in repatriation in case you are hurt. They also make it really clear on this expedition, things move quickly, your door slams, we have bulkheads that close, keep your fingers out of the doors and out of the door jambs. And they've said those are considered life-threatening. We have no ability to save your finger, to save your arm, to save anything, and will force us to turn around immediately and get you back to Ushuaia as quick as humanly possible. So, you're not holding doors and things like that. Whereas on the cruise ship, we, not this one, but others, we've had 7 helicopter rescues back to land, but that does not happen in Antarctica. So you got to be careful. Okay, cruise or expedition. Left is a cruise or an expedition, or the right one? I guess I kind of gave it away on the right. Huh? Yeah, okay, sorry, I gave that one away. This was an amazing place, not Palaver Point. Oh, I'm going to come up with it in a minute. It is beautiful. You can't really see the rocks here, but we zodiac through the cavern, and this is like a 5-story iceberg. And these two, the ships, the Zodiacs in front of us, because we went in ships, were unable to get to the other side because the icebergs were like moving, in and out like this. And by the time we got there, they had moved enough that we went through to the other side. You can get it from, you can go out and cruise back. But I was just shocked in these caverns that these icebergs had basically gotten caught in these caverns, just floating around. And it was just magnificent. And this is what they call, guess what? A chin strap penguin, right? Chin strap. Yeah, they're really cute. Okay, weather. So you were there for austral summer. So it is December to March. As I said, I think of it as like a fall or a winter day in Chicago. Not bad. The wind's blowing, yes, but not. Cruise, you can go inside and outside on the deck. So easier. You really see more on an expedition outside, not inside. You need warm clothing, wind, rain, sunshine, cloudy. You'll have everything. You want to protect your hands, face, and feet, of course. Seasickness. I did not have an issue. People on the cruise ship and people on the expedition were using my patches, and they were very glad to have them. I had Dramamine chews. I had ginger chews. People were having a really hard time. On the cruise ship, they will charge you for all that stuff, so bring it with you. On the expedition, the doctor was giving it away like candy, and at some instances gave people shots of I don't know what, but they were just so sick and so bad that they took the shots. The Drake Passage, I'll be honest with you, it was really easy for me. I've now done it 6 times. 2, 4, 6, 6 times. And I haven't actually had an issue with it, but I sort of like the rocking and the rolling, so There's that. Schedules, itineraries, ports will change. The cruise ship that I'm getting on Monday, the same one I came down on, had to skip Ushuaia, Puerto Arenas, and Cape Horn because the weather was so bad, and they actually sheltered in Puerto Arenas, and then it cleared up, and they're heading up to Santiago. So stuff like that happens, and there's nothing there's no one has any control over it. So it is what it is. And then miscellaneous. So this is on the cruise ship. The hot tubs are still going, and people were out there and doing all their Instagram and enjoying the warm weather, the warm water in the cold weather. You do have Starlink Wi-Fi on both. You pay for it. On the Expedition, it's data based. And on the cruise ship, it's just like your Wi-Fi at home, and it comes and goes. It actually worked a lot better than I thought it would, but it's available. Medical care, as I said, it's available, but on a limited basis on the Expedition, so don't get really hurt. And on the cruise ship, it's a full mini hospital on there. Food, it's good food. It's cruise food. It's fresh. It's done well. You can get any kind of dietary concern taken care of. They're happy to oblige. Different people, a cruise ship of 2,000 people has a wide variety of people. So does a cruise of 124 people. You're just a little closer to them on a more regular basis. You got to make sure you've got that clothing taken care of, borrow it, thrift shop it, buy it, whatever makes you comfortable. And the cruiser expedition, which we've been talking about. The camera equipment thing, Galapagos, now Antarctica. I actually made a note to myself that maybe that's something I want to rent. I haven't quite decided. People had like big lenses. One was a 25 to 350 that kind of slid in and out, but it's really quite heavy, and packing it is an issue. People on the cruise ship definitely had a lot of tripod action going on. You weren't allowed to use the tripods on the Expedition because that would have touched the ground unnecessarily. So the only thing that should touch your ground are your boots, not your knees, nothing else. So no tripods on the Expedition, but there were quite a few people out there with their tripods on the cruise. So think about that. And binoculars. And I keep saying I'm going to get binoculars, and then I'm in a city and I forget or I don't get them. And at this point, I kind of feel like I don't need them. So, but those are just extras. Like if you have them, make sure you bring them with you. And then let's talk about budgeting. So here's one of the things, there is an occupancy solo, double, triple, or quad. So solo or double on a cruise ship, or quad as well. And you have that same option on an Expedition ship. These are mostly, except for the brand new Vikings or Hurtigrans, the smaller ships, like I'm suggesting, under 200 people, because you get on and off the ship quicker and you see more because you can. If you're trying to get 60 to 100 people off, we're all of varying abilities. So it takes longer to get your boots on and off, and your parka and your life jacket and all of that stuff. So that makes a difference. And the occupancy also impacts your price. More people in the room, the cheaper it is for everybody. I'll be putting out some information on group rates that I put together for a cruise and an Expedition in January of 2025. So I'll talk about that on another video and send you some information. The airfare, so it depends on when you're booking. I actually stayed on the ship from Buenos Aires back to San Antonio, Santiago, because it was $4,000 economy to fly back to the United States to Miami or LA. Because January 4th, the entire month of January, is still school holidays in South America. So just like in Australia, everybody's traveling. So it's high season. If you book far enough advance or use points, it doesn't matter. It was cheaper for me to stay on the boat or stay on the ship and go back to Santiago and enjoy some more time in South America and spend that $4,000 in South America than spend it on one way ticket to get home. Currency rates and changes, Chile, you've got Peru, Chile, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Argentina, Falkland Islands is on the British pound. So you have many currencies. I use point earning credit cards. I do not change currency anywhere. I have not had a problem with it. But as you may know, in Argentina, the dollar, their peso is fluctuating wildly. So that's something to consider when you're traveling. I always consider that when I'm traveling. Drinks and Wi-Fi are extra. You pay for the cruise or the Expedition, but drinks and Wi-Fi are extra, and clothing, as I mentioned earlier. So look at the itinerary. Do you want to see South America, or you want to go directly down to Antarctica and spend more time down there? How much time do you have? The Antarctic, as I said, goes from 10 to 21 days. You could spend 55 days on a cruise ship and see Antarctica for 8 days like I did. Depends on how much time you have. Pre and post hotel and tours. As long as you're coming this far, there's stuff to see in Lima and Santiago and Ushuaia. So, how much time can you put in up front and in the back? And it goes from basic to luxury. So, you can go Abercrombie and Kent, which is one of the highest end that you can go. I would say Princess is about in the middle, and NCL is probably a little bit below that, but not giving you the same experience between Princess and NCL. And camera equipment can cost you, depends on if you want to use it or not, and then the timing for your vacations or if you're traveling like I am. So the cruise, $35,000 to $15,000 per person, so doubled if you're solo. And then excursions, as I mentioned, and then the expedition. So here's one of the hot tips, and I'm sorry, but maybe you won't go on a cruise with me because of this, but there were a number of people on our ship and that I've met over the course of my travels in South America who go down to Ushuaia. They know what the ship schedules are. There are a number of expedition ships, not the cruise ships, but the expedition ships that are down there. And they will go out they'll go online, they'll call them, they'll see people and say, so do you have an empty berth? Some people got on our cruise ship, on our expedition out of Ushuaia for $3,000. Literally walked on the day we boarded, and just bought it. Other people paid $10,000. Some people paid $8,000. My roommate at the hotel, when we first got to Ushuaia, she paid $3,500. She was in a room with 4 other women. So we had choices in the expedition, 4s, 3s, or 2s, or solo. So it just depends on what your budget is. And then the types and ages of the ship. There was a brand new one, Magellan Explorer, when we docked in Ushuaia, when we were done. Brand new, gorgeous, 200-person ship. Ours is about 30 years old. They'll do one more run next season, and then they'll get another ship. I don't know if it'll be a new ship or just another ship. They can't currently take the current ship up to the Arctic because Norway has put in a higher standard for CO2 emissions. And this ship that I showed you that I was on does not have that ability to not emit. They're a level 2 emitter, not a level 3. And to scrub the filters and start over is like millions of dollars. So the company's looking at probably getting a different ship so they can do Arctic and Antarctic, which is what most of these expeditions do. And then the expedition Zodiacs. So 2025, going back to Antarctica on an expedition and a cruise ship. I'd love to have you join me. It is full service door to door if that's what you need, from picking you up where you are to getting you on your flights and hotels at your new destination and tours and on your way back and all of the details that you want to know. So for 2025, we'll be what I'm looking at is doing destinations that maybe are on your bucket list and maybe more difficult to do on your own, to figure out on your own. So Alaska, Antarctica, the Arctic, not Arctica, sorry, Australia, Cuba, Ireland, Japan, South America, including Galapagos, Machu Picchu, Iguazu Falls, and Patagonia. And I have videos on those, and we've done lives on those already. Everyone's welcome. So small groups, large groups, couples, singles, solos, LGBTQ, whatever you like, in all budget categories. It's not just that you have a group, but we have a group that has many options in terms of rooms available. And as I said, sort of this door-to-door service. So the deal is, if you join my mailing list and you're not on it already, by Wednesday, you'll get $100 off. You entered in a raffle for $100 off, or a drawing for $100 off when you book with me. And if you're already on my email list, because I know a number of you are already, we'll be pulling 2 subscribers from the current subscriber list and 3 from the new ones. So you just go to where'sbabs.com and sign up, or send me an email, babs@where'sbabs.com, and I'll be happy to add your name to that. I want to show you one other video, and you can tell me, what do you think that is? Do you think that that's expedition or cruise? So this is a behavior that moms do with babies to teach them how to run on uneven surfaces and to make sure it's her baby that she's feeding, because babies will follow anyone with food. So this one, you know, they started off over here, and you see how that's the baby behind clearly, and bumping mom, and you can see he's molting all that little fuzzy fur. So I'm not sure why this is so whited out, you guys. The video and the Wi-Fi might not be working for me today, but this will all be on my website as well. So I wanted to show you that as well. So I am more than happy to answer any questions you might have. And let me see who's in here. Hello, everyone. Just glad to see you. For those of you who are watching on replay, we're going to go to the Q&A now. So if there are any questions, let me know. And I'll go back to the photographs, the cruise expedition thing in a minute. And oh my God, everybody, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Canada, Wisconsin, Alberta. You guys, thanks so much for joining. All right, let me go back to this real quick, and I'll tell you what the pictures were. Well, that one is clearly expedition, right? So is this one. This is expedition as well. Yeah. Okay, this one, what do you think? So we said, is this expedition or cruise? So the one on the left is expedition. That is from the Zodiac, seeing this little penguin all by himself. This one's from the cruise on the right. It's just amazing. We all looked out there, and there were these frolicking whales. Get good views no matter how you go. This is also from the cruise ship. I was just happened to be on the 7th deck looking out, and there was this orca. We saw no orcas on the expedition. Okay, this one, Magellan penguins, and this is the A23 iceberg, A23A iceberg. They're both cruise pictures. Huge Magellan penguin population on Falkland Islands. It's about a 2-hour ride outside. It's a small island, but it's still a 2-hour ride to get to them. And then this is the A23 iceberg, which the expeditions did not chase, but Princess chased it every time they went down once they got down there. We were the first cruise ship to go see it, to ever see the A23 iceberg. Okay, cruise or expedition. One on the right is expedition. One on the left is cruising. And this glacial green here is unbelievable. It's just crazy beautiful. Okay, the other thing that I wanted to show you, and let me see if I can do a share screen here. I want to give you a sense of, that's not what I want to do. Hold on a second, just a minute. Cancel that. Let me just do something here really, no, sorry, just give me 1 second. I wanted to show you where the difference was in where we went on the cruise versus the expedition. So Anvers Island, let me just get there first. Okay. And then let me go back and share this. Hopefully I can share that. That would be really good. Share screen window. There we go. Okay. All right. Hopefully you guys can see this. So this is Anvers Island, and hopefully this will work. I'm going to give you a bigger overview. So here is Ushuaia up here. These are Elephant Island and the islands the cruise ships go to, and this is how far south we went on the expedition. So this is 2 days of crossing the Drake Passage to get there, no matter what ship you choose. And basically, the South Shetland Islands, this is where the cruise ships kind of hang around. They do Elephant Island. They go down from Ushuaia. They go down to Elephant Island. And this is where then we went off over here somewhere to find the iceberg. And then we came back. I think we did Elephant Island. And then you go into these Admiralty Bay, Wilhelmina Bay, and you're kind of going in. And he goes in here, and they turn off the engines on the cruise ship, and you're literally just quiet, nothing, just beautiful quiet. Sometimes you'll hear the whales blowing their air, or you'll hear a petrel or a bird, and so they stick around here. And depending on weather, and sometimes ice gets in here, so they can't go there. And then we come down here, and then they typically come down to Deception Island, sometimes depending on the weather. and then head around and go back up to the Drake. So that's your 4 days of cruising, and then they go back up. But on the expedition, we headed right from Ushuaia to Anvers and this island on the other side. I can't remember the name of it. And we went right around here. And so this southern area is where all of these icebergs accumulate. And we just spent time going in and out of here, seeing um, looking at, not going in, but the research stations that were there, the penguins, the seals, everything. It was just amazing. And you're down here, 2 days up and 2 days down. So you're down here for 6 days wandering around the coast. And it's just beautiful. And it's different. It's very different than being up on a cruise ship, which is fine and it's lovely. And I think you need to think about your ability too, because it can be kind of rough, sharing that, getting on and off of the Zodiac, walking on the land. And they tell you it's flat, it's pebbles, it's icy. So at the briefing, you have a briefing every night on the expedition, letting you know what's going to happen the next day, what to prepare for, what kind of terrain we'll be on, so that everybody feels comfortable. So just to give you an idea of where we were. So any questions or anything that you guys, I just showed you the maps. Does that, Teresa, I hope that helped. And on a previous one, I showed you the itinerary for the Princess, which has changed for 2025. So I just posted a blog post that's got a lot of photographs and information on it as well. So you can take a look. Oh, great. You know what? We had come, Dee is asking if we had a rougher go of the Drake in the cruise ship or in the expedition. So the expedition said they had not seen a cruise like ours. I mean, gorgeous weather in Ushuaia when we left. And when we came back, this rainbow that was unbelievable. It was overcast on our way down, but by Drake standards, it was not the lake, like flat, but we had 1 to 2 or 3 meter waves. And then we got back on the Drake so fast because it got a little rough, and I think he was just trying to get us out of there, that we actually got to go around Cape Horn, which the expeditions don't normally do. But they rate them 1 to 10, and we were always at a 1 or a 2. Under 5 meters or under 3 meter waves were considered a 1 or a 2, and we never went above a 2 on the expedition. And I just felt the cruise ship was so big. I didn't feel it. Other people did, but I kind of like that sleeping. It's sort of like a waterbed. I kind of like that. And I just didn't have an issue with it. So I might be the wrong person to ask, because there were definitely some people who weren't feeling well, but I don't think the waves, we may have gotten 5 or 6 meters on the cruise ship in December and January, but yeah, it wasn't bad. People took stuff and they felt better. And always, you go up and you look at the horizon, makes you feel better all the time. So, Teresa, I hope those maps that I showed gave you a general idea. And anything else? I'm just checking for questions here. Well, that's all I had to tell you guys. Lots of pictures on the blog. So I just posted a blog today, and it's got a ton of pictures on it. So feel free to look through. Again, most of them are mine. And a couple of you can tell are zoomed, like those Magellan penguins, were from people who had amazing cameras. So I feel very fortunate to have cruised